Hello, this is Kevin Kaplan from the Infant and Early Childhood Mental Health Team at the Children's Resource Center in Bowling Green, Ohio. Thanks for joining me for another recorded version of our parent chat. This chat topic was managing sibling rivalry and just some basic information about managing sibling rivalry and some tips and suggestions. When I think of sibling rivalry, the first thing that comes to my mind is two kids fighting. Maybe for you too, but it can look different. And just like there's a lot of different siblings out there, there's a lot of different ways that sibling rivalry can present itself. Siblings come in all shapes and sizes, right? And colors. So they're very diverse. There's a lot of different types of them. So different personalities, different experiences, different skills, all of that comes into play. They may be born at different ages, of course, unless they're twins, or they may be really close in age. They may be adopted, and they could be from inside the family, like extended family. It could be outside the family that they were adopted from. And it could be blended siblings from two parents who separated before and then come together and brought different families together. And so those households are kind of merging. In any household, kiddos are trying to learn, experience, and express themselves. And so it can be busy and and it can be fun, exciting, and also scary at times. And you might wonder, well, why does this happen? And so the information out there suggests that it's a big part of it is age. And so the closer kiddos are in age, the more likely they are to have sibling rivalry. And so if you've had a couple of children really close together, you might be more likely to see this. And also if they're the same sex, so if they're both girls or both boys, they may be more likely to have sibling rivalry. And that doesn't mean that you can't see sibling rivalry with a girl and a boy, a brother and a sister. It's just less likely. And it's mainly because they have the same interests, whether they're the same age or the same sex. They have similar interest in toys and activities. And so they may be fighting for those things. Or if they're maybe middle children, and so their birth order might come into play, and middle children tend to feel sandwiched between the youngest child and the oldest child. And so they may watch and see the youngest child get most of the attention, but yet the oldest child is getting all of their needs met on their own because they're maybe more independent. And so this middle child is kind of in limbo-ish, so to speak. And then you may also see with a blended family, children are maybe coming into a household from another household, and the children in that household may be on guard or defensive, and vice versa, right? If you're a kiddo who's moving into a new home that already has children in it, it can be kind of scary. And so there may be some competition that might happen there. Not to say it will, but it's something to watch out and keep an eye out for. And that's because also that there's limited time that adults have to share and to meet the needs of children. And so children often feel like they might need to compete with this other kiddo. And so there's also limited resources where maybe they don't have enough of something for them all to have one. And so that may be a reason for this rivalry to spark. Or maybe it started earlier and we're just now seeing the behaviors get worse. It could be. For most children, it's stronger closer to the teenage years. So if you can do anything about it now before they get to that age, it would help maybe decrease the impact it has. And you might see a lot of different behaviors: name calling, sabotage, instigating. The signs of sibling rivalry can vary a lot. As I talked about earlier, it really depends on the situation, the environment, the household, and the siblings themselves. But it's important to know that a certain extent of sibling rivalry is to be expected. It really shows that they're just developing their ability to express themselves, to express their wants and needs and get their needs met. It's maybe more of a concern when it becomes more aggressive with one another, towards themselves or other objects and animals, or when they're really demanding attention. That could look different. It could look direct or indirect through behaviors or outbursts, tattling, arguing. And with some kiddos, maybe it's their personality, but they're maybe internalizing this stressful situation, and that might show in some bedwetting or baby talking or thumb sucking. So they may fall back into previous things that they had grown out of, which is not uncommon for children when they experience stress at a young age. They Even adults can tend to learn or unlearn previously learned skills for a short period of time because of the stress that's going on in their life. Ultimately, what we want is children to be successful socially and emotionally, and to have the skills to play with others, problem solve, feel connected, and be a part of the family. Tips for success would be to supply attention in a planned and intentional way. It could be brief moments, maybe called connecting rituals, where you greet them in the morning a certain way, or you say goodbye to them in a certain way. Maybe this is when you come and go from the house. Maybe it's at bedtime, maybe it's at supper time, maybe it's at lunchtime or nap time, before a nap and after a nap. Whatever works best for you. It's important to include eye contact, touch, gentle touch, presence in a playful situation. Those are the components for creating that connection. And by giving children this attention and connection without them having to seek it or come get it from you, gives them that connection in advance. And so it's kind of like making a deposit. And when we make a deposit, the more deposits we can make, then when we have to correct something, it won't have such an impact. So when we have to make a withdrawal by correcting them, there'll already be some deposits in there so that we can make that withdrawal safely without having too much of an impact on the relationship. Problem solving is big and can last a lifetime, just like a good relationship. And we can help children with problem solving by providing them with a visual of the steps. So a picture that shows them what are the steps of problem solving. Younger children may need more support with this, and they might need us to coach them or model it for them. We can offer two positive choices. So if your kiddos are fighting, or one of your kiddos is complaining about something, we can offer them two positive choices that they can do instead of whatever it is they wanted to do. Maybe it's another kiddo's turn with that toy, and so maybe we offer them two alternatives. We can remind them with some visuals about friendship cues and clues, just reminding them of those behaviors we want to see more of. Maybe that's a quiet voice, maybe that's kind hands. It's important to be consistent with the rules and limits. If there's more than one adult in the household, try to get on the same page. If you can't agree on a rule, compromise, find something in the middle. That's very important. Children behave best when the rules are consistent between the two adults in the home. You can help aid in this by having a visual schedule and picture rule cards, which are like a visual schedule, except we just take pictures of what the rules look like. So no hitting, no yelling, things like that, and have the schedule and the rules in a place where it's accessible and available. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be a whole wall. It could just be a small corner of the fridge, or it could be maybe we have rules in certain parts of the house that need to be followed. And so we have different ones hanging up in different places. It's important to praise and encourage the desired behaviors and actions that we want to see more of. Because as you may know, attention is like a flashlight, and we see more of what we focus it on. And so if we are able to praise those behaviors that we want to see more of, those good behaviors, then your kiddos will tend to have more of those behaviors. And they'll also learn what you want from them. And so when they're playing nicely and there's no problem at all, we might want to take that opportunity to go and relax somewhere. But first, before you do that, go in that room and praise that they are playing together nicely. They're sharing a toy. They're taking turns. Whatever it is you see them doing, praise that behavior. We're not necessarily telling them whether they're good or bad. We're not necessarily praising their character. We're praising their behavior. It's important to also remain neutral and not take any sides. Stick to the facts and rules. So if our children are fighting over something, it's important to talk about just the facts. So if maybe Bobby took John's toy, so yeah, we could focus in on the fact that Bobby took John's toy, but that's kind of attacking Bobby. And sure, Bobby did maybe instigate it, but maybe something happened before that where John took something from Bobby. We don't know. So it's important to focus in on the facts. And what we do know is that they're not sharing, right? And so what we can focus in on is the skill of sharing. And that might look like problem solving, encouraging them to problem solve that if they're old enough. And if maybe they're old enough, but they don't seem to be able to do it successfully, walk them through it. Walk them through it each time until they seem to be able to handle it a little bit better. And then maybe slowly step back each time. And then next time you do it, maybe you do the first couple steps of the problem solving process, but you don't do the last couple. But remaining neutral is really important because we don't want either child to feel as though we're taking their side, because that will have a negative impact. And it's important to avoid comparing as well. So it's not about whether one child is better at something than the other. Sure, they could be, they very well could be, but we would be adding fuel to the fire if we point out that Susie does a much better job sitting in the living room watching TV quietly. Or why can't you clean up better like your brother? That doesn't maybe seem like comparing, but what that child hears is, my brother cleans up better than me. I'm not good enough. And we can model and coach the skills that we want them to have or that we see that they need to build, like turn taking, maybe sharing, and it could be the problem solving process. It could be using nice hands. And that can be aided or assisted through having pictures of those things, not just showing them and modeling them, which is great. And that would be good enough. If you want to add, or maybe you're not sure how to model it. And so maybe you look it up and you can print some pictures out. There's lots of pictures and stuff on Pinterest and pages like that where you can print them off. or you could always look at your library for children's books about that certain thing. And you can oftentimes find a children's book with a skill, about a skill or ability that you can help build in your kiddo. And you might think of planning and preparing for times that might be challenging or things that might be challenging. Maybe maybe it's necessary to get two of each toy at Christmas because maybe there's just that many struggles around that. Or if you're not able to get multiples of favorite toys that they're fighting over, maybe you set specific rules around that toy. And if they're younger children, it's important to have a visual of those. It really helps them to think independent or think on their own about the rule and or the schedule. And it can also help with the timer. Maybe we use a timer for this toy because it's caused a lot of conflicts. But if you can, get a couple of them, get an extra one for your other kiddo. I also wanted to share with you a kid's book list about sibling rivalry that I got from the University of Michigan's website. There's some great looking books here. I Love You the Purplest, You're All My Favorites, Do You Like Kyla, and Sheila Ray's Peppermint Stick, and Naughty Toes by Anne Bonwill. They're for different ages, mostly younger, which is what we were targeting with this video. And so I invite you to look that up or some of those books up to see if they would be appropriate for your kiddo, and check out your local library. We have some complimentary videos on our YouTube channel about problem solving, preparing for a new baby, which could also be a new sibling, creating a safe place or calm down spot, and a family meeting. So check out our YouTube page under Children's Resource Center to see the additional videos, and follow us at the CRC Infant and Early Childhood Connection to get updates about future videos posted and resources and events that we share on there. Thank you so much for joining me again, and I hope to see you in the next one.